Okay, so today we're going to go over how to pack a rucksack. What you see in front of you is the typical items that you would take on an overnight or a short trip. The only thing we're not going to pack up today would be our tent, which we're going to carry separately or whatever. We also have some items in here we can use for shelter, but we'll go over those in a minute. So in your typical rucksack, at the top left, you're going to see your sleep system. Now that's your sleeping bag, your wet cover, anything you have like that you're actually going to be sleeping with overnight. Underneath that is a wet weather bag. That's necessary for military bags and military rucksacks because many of them don't have a wet weather bag built in. So you would carry that and put it on the inside of your rucksack and stuff everything inside of that. So if you get caught in rain or get caught in wet weather, it keeps everything dry. Now moving on to the middle top, you'll see boots. To the right of that, you'll have extra uniforms. In this case, you would take your extra pants, extra shirts, anything extra you're going to wear and put on when you get back to your base camp, that's going to go up there. And then the top right will have a shower kit. And that's typically just a small little travel case with some hygiene items in it, and then a towel underneath it. Moving on to the middle row, you've got extra t-shirts and socks. As well in there, you have some light outerwear garments, maybe like some polypropylene or something to keep you warm, a little light jacket, things like that. And then to the far right is going to be either your wet jacket or your rain jacket if you're carrying one of those. Now on the bottom row is stuff we're going to carry on the outside of our ruck, stuff we're not going to pack on the inside, but we're still going to want to carry. And then what you see rolled up is a sleep pad, and that one's inflatable, so something to separate us from the ground. To the right of that is a camelback, and that's what we use to carry water on the go. So you'll see the straw on it that I can use to actually drink water while the pack is on my back, and I don't have to worry about a canteen. And then on the bottom row, you have gloves, which you're definitely going to want quick access to, and a poncho, which is basically just to throw on in case you get caught in a quick shower and don't want to get inside your ruck to stay dry. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the actual packing of the ruck. Everything you see in front of me here is typical military equipment, but this is all stuff that you could do at home, whether it's your own boots, your own socks, blankets, t-shirts, all those things you have at home. With the rucksack itself, all rucksacks that are made for hiking are going to have one major thing in common. They're going to have some sort of frame. Some of these are built in, some of these are external, but they're going to have a frame that distributes the weight across. One of the common mispractices that people do when they pack the ruck is they put the stuff in the wrong order, or they mismanage their weight, and so when they start actually hiking, it's either pulling or it's crushing down their spine. So today we're going to go over some things to help you pack better and pack smarter. We're going to balance the weight. Typically towards the top is where you want it, but also you have to keep in mind where you want the items for accessibility. Sometimes the heavier stuff needs to go a little bit lower or a little bit higher based on when you're going to need them. You don't want to have to unpack everything in your ruck to get to that one thing you need. So we're going to balance that out a little bit, and we're going to put the stuff we are going to use at the very end of the trek or the end of the hike, at the end of the night, down towards the bottom, which is going to make the weight. And then as we start working up, we're going to get to stuff we're going to need faster or in a quicker moment. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our sleep system in. So your sleeping bag, if you think about it, that's the last thing you're going to need at the end of the night. It's the last thing that you're going to actually pull out and have to use. We're not going to need it at any point while we're hiking unless we decide to stop. And when we stop, we have plenty of time. So we're going to put this in first. But before we do that, going back to the wet weather bag, we need to put this in. If we get caught in wet weather, this is what's going to keep everything in here dry so we don't show up with wet socks and t-shirts. Some of these bags that you'll see at home, North Face bags, REI, Marmots, whatever, will have this built in. Or they'll have what's called a fly, which is basically like a poncho that goes over it. If you have one built in, you don't need this. For military bags, they don't. If this rains, it's going to get wet, so we're going to put this in first, all the way down to the bottom, holding the bottom. We're going to spread that out. And as you can see, it's got a little rubber liner in it to keep all of our stuff dry. Now, first item we're going to pack inside is our sleep system. So we're going to take this, holding the size of your wet weather bag, make sure you get this all the way down to the bottom. This is where the practice really starts to come in. So you don't want to stuff it down vertical because you're going to lose a lot of space. It's easier to put it in vertical, but then once you get down, you want to actually move it side to side so it's laying flat and then distribute that weight out. That does two things. One, it makes sure that we're not wasting a ton of space in our rucksack, but two, it also provides a good solid base down at the bottom. Our rucksack will stand up by itself now, and we've got a good base to start putting weight in. So the next thing that we're going to want to put in is our boots. So if we're going to change our boots, we're not going to be doing that on the move. We're going to have to stop to be able to do that. And I'm comfortable with being able to drop my rucksack and take some stuff out to get to these boots if I need them. I need my socks, I need things like that to change my boots. And we'll put those in a minute, but the boots need to go in next. And we're gonna put those in side to side. Again, we wanna balance the weight left and right. So what we're gonna do there is we're gonna put these in almost like you find them in a shoebox at a store, right? So we're gonna put our boots in side to side. That's gonna balance the weight. It's gonna create a frame on the outside. And it's gonna allow us to stack things in the middle and keep that weight balanced. We don't wanna put them off to one side or the other or front and back, because what that's gonna do over time is start weighing and start pulling you back like that. We want all of our weight side to side and evenly distributed. So we'll do that with our boots there. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna put in the middle of the boots, that cavity we just created right there, is our extra shirts, pants, anything like that you're gonna put on at the end of the trek, or maybe you got into some really bad wet weather, you couldn't put your jacket on or anything like that, you got super soaked, maybe you had to cross a river or some water, so you got super wet. So these are your extra t-shirts and pants, things you might either throw on, like I said, when you get wet, or at the end of the night, you wanna get into some fresh clothes. Either way, you're gonna have to stop, take your rucksack off and things like that. So these are items you're not gonna need to get to right away. So we're gonna take those and we're gonna put those in the middle between our boots. Make sure when you're doing this, you wanna try to roll this up as tightly as possible and get these in a nice, neat form factor. That's gonna keep it from wiggling around. The tighter we can pack this rucksack and the less wiggle room we have around everything, the better it's gonna sit on our back and the less room it's gonna jiggle around. There's nothing worse on a ruck march or a hike than having a bag that's just shaking around like a jingle truck. We definitely don't want that. It's gonna wreak havoc on your back and spine the next day. And so we're gonna continue to pack this down and get it nice and smooth, evenly distributed. So the next thing we're gonna pack on top of that is gonna be our socks, all right, along with our boots. If we're gonna change our boots, we're probably gonna change our socks. You always wanna take a lot more socks than you think. So if I'm packing right now for an overnight trip, I probably want 3 pairs of socks. 1 in case I get wet, I can change those socks out. 2 at the end of the night, I can change my socks out, especially if it's cold. I might not want to sleep without socks. I'm gonna change those out. And then 3, just in case I need them, I have a backup pair. So I'm gonna take these and again, putting them right there in the middle of that cavity, keeping them right in the middle and evenly balanced out. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take any t-shirts, an extra, like I said, polypropylene or some of your long john material, anything like that. I'm gonna put those in right there with my socks. Those are good for when you get to base camp and need to change your shirt out real quick, get a nice fresh t-shirt on, or in case you get wet. It's not something you need right away, but you definitely need it before you get to your sleeping system and your sleep bag and things like that. So we're gonna put that right there. Now the next thing we're gonna put on top of that is our shower kit, okay? So when we get to camp, brush teeth, anything like that, we wanna put our shower kit in. Now, I know what you're thinking, we're probably gonna need our t-shirts before we need our shower kit, but go back to what I said about weight distribution, right? We want our weight up towards the top. So we're gonna give some, take some on that weight balance. And we put our shower kit up towards the top. Typically you're gonna have deodorant, travel sizes of things in there. It's gonna weigh a little bit more than t-shirts. We wanna keep that weight up high. The lower it is, the more it's gonna be pulling back on your spine, and that's what we don't want. So we're gonna put that shower kit up towards the top on top of our t-shirts. Really easy to move and pull out of the way if you need to pull a t-shirt out or socks. I can still see my socks right here. If I needed to open this up and pull socks out, it's really accessible, but I'm gonna put that shower kit right up there up top. The next thing we're gonna throw in is our rain jacket. This is something you might wanna get to quick. And as you can see, we're starting to get up towards the top of the rucksack. So with the rain jacket, I wanna be able to take this top cover off, reach right in and grab a rain jacket if I need one. If I need to stop for a few minutes, maybe I'm taking a water break, a rest break, anything like that, and I don't wanna get super wet, or if I just wanna throw it on for a little bit of warmth, I've got it right there near the top where I can put that on. And I'm gonna put that right in front of that shower kit that we just made. It's not that heavy, so it's not gonna pull me back this way, but I'm just filling up that space and keeping that weight balance. The last thing I'm gonna throw in on the inside is an infantryman's best friend, and something that every good soldier is gonna carry with them, easily accessible, and that's what we call a whoopee. It's basically a poncho liner. So we talked about putting the poncho out on the outside earlier. This is the liner for it. And what this is basically is just a good, nice blanket. These are always nice to have. They're super handy, and they come in handy wherever you are on the trail. If you want to stop for a few minutes and just throw this blanket on real quick and throw it back in, it packs down really nice and easy. So we're gonna put that up towards the top as well. So now we have everything that we're gonna put on the inside. We've got our wet weather bag still hanging out here. We want to grab our sides, give it a nice tug, get that stuff settled. And at this point, we shouldn't have too much stuff moving and shaking around because we packed it evenly balanced, left and right. We've got most of our heavy stuff up towards the top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fold up our wet weather bag. Some of these will have a drawstring. Some of these will have their own compression pack built in. If they're not, then just take that up and fold up the sides as best as you can. You can even take some rope or string and string that around and close it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our cinch sack, so whatever compression system you have on the bag itself, and we're going to pull that closed. Now, if I move that, that should move as one because I've got everything packed in here. What I don't want is I don't want to see any lateral movement, shaking back and forth, any empty space, anything like that. It's a good solid rucksack pack. All right, so before we put the top flap on, there's two things that we're going to put up on top of here. One of them is going to be our actual sleep system. Our inflatable sleep pad. This is a great thing to have to separate your body from the ground itself. They sell these commercially. This is a military version, but it's an exact copy of an REI one. It's got a little twist thing here. It inflates by itself. These are great for keeping you off the cold ground at the end of the night, but they're really hard to pack inside the rucksack. I could stuff it down this way and make it vertical, and it might fit, but it'd offset all of my weight. So a lot of times, vast majority of us will carry it right there across the top. So we're just gonna set that right there, right now. And on top of this, we're gonna have our water system. You can use canteens, you can use Nalgene bottles, you can use Gatorade bottles if you want. This is a lot more convenient. The reason it is because you see the straw in here. I can hang the straw over my shoulder, and while I'm moving, I can actually drink water on the go. I'm gonna put this right up top. I don't want to put this anywhere inside my bag because if it bursts, it's going to get water everywhere. And especially if you're packing a heavy rucksack or you're packing a lot of stuff around it, it has a tendency to burst the bladder inside. So we want to keep it up top and out of the way. Also, with the weight balance we talked about, we want our weight up towards the top. We're going to keep this up towards the top. Make sure when you put this on, you have the straw coming out towards the frame of the rucksack and not out towards the front. It's going to make things a little awkward if you have it here and then you're trying to reach around. It might not actually reach your lips. So what you want to do is make sure when you put this on there, tuck all these straps underneath, make sure it's nice and neat, and they're not hanging out everywhere, they're going to shake. And then take the straw and make sure it's facing the frame so that when you're ready to go, you have it right here to drink. Now once we have that put there, we're going to pull our top flap over. And you can actually pull this and rotate it back towards yourself. We're going to take these straps, we're going to connect these loose for now to the front. Once we have that connected, we're going to come back up to the top and sort this out and make sure this is nice and neat. We don't want any folds, twists, anything like that in here. And then we're going to gently pull these back so they're about hand tight. What we don't want to do on this step is we don't want to cinch these down super tight. A lot of people will say, you know, super tight rucksack's really good, but just keep in mind you have your camelback here. Depending on what you put in the top flap, some people like to put the snacks or things in the top flap if there's a pouch there. If you cinch this thing down, you have a chance of busting this bladder under here. So be careful with that and just keep that in mind. We do want it cinched nice and tight. So once we have it squared away at top, we can give it a nice little pull. Just really tight. We don't need to get super tight though. We're going to take these into the flaps, these drawstrings here, and we're going to put these inside the loops to keep those out of the way. These will definitely give you blisters on the insides of your legs and on the inside of your knees if you let them drape down. They'll be smacking you the entire way and really get on your nerves. So now, rucksack's good to go. It's packed up. We've got our drawstring here for our camelback. And we can actually run through your shoulder strap if you want to, or leave it hanging. If you leave it hanging, just make sure that you can reach it when you put your rucksack on. Otherwise, it might fall back here and you might not be able to reach it. So give that a few tries and make sure you can reach it. Other than that, you're good to go and packed up, with the exception of some outside things. Last two things we're going to pack. Gloves. If you're carrying gloves, I would recommend these on any trek or hike you're going on. You never know when you're going to come across a fallen branch, some sticker bushes, anything you need to go through with rough terrain. It's nice to have gloves, and it's nice to be able to get to them immediately. So what I like to do is take these gloves and put them on one of the outside pockets. In this case, I'll just put them over here on the side. That way, if I need them, I can get them out real quick and use them. And the last thing that I'm going to pack up that we talked about today was our poncho. So this poncho is just in case you reach rain, wet weather. Think of this like your fly. A lot of times when you buy a civilian pack, they're gonna say that it has a rain fly in it. It's the exact same thing. It's just a big poncho. If I need it, I can pull it out, throw it over my rucksack, especially if I'm stopping for a while and it's raining. I don't want to pick this up, put that back on my back when all of that is wet. So I may just want to actually, even though everything's inside is covered, I can take this and throw it over my rucksack when I'm stopping during the rain to keep everything dry. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the middle pouch. That way if I need it, I can get to it real quick. The last thing I would recommend is probably some snacks for the trail. I've already got those packed up in the side here. But whatever you want to take, Cliff Bars, combos, snacks, cakes, cookies, candies, whatever you want, you can put those in the outside pocket too. You don't want to have to drop your rucksack and take everything out or take a lot of stuff out in order to just get a quick snack, some crackers. So carry those in the outside as well. Once you have that, you're good to go and ready to ruck. Happy trails.